Hey guys, and welcome to an incredibly silly but epic battle led by the mighty Way Shall Be the Dwarvish Folk, coming up against GE32 and his Lizardmen Dinosaurs. Now, the reason I think this game is particularly hilarious is if you take a little look at the Dwarvish build on the left-hand side, pretty much every unit, bar the Lord, is a ranged combatant. We have miners with blasting charges. Those are the only guys who have really got any metal in combat, but they still have their blasting charges for that long-range firepower. And they're actually going to be in the secondary battle line because the front line is IRONDRAKEs. That's right, the flamethrower wielding Ironbreaker type unit is going to be leading the battle line. So IRONDRAKE's dotted all the way along. Flamethrowers will certainly do some nice damage, and these guys are pretty tanky of 125 armor, so taking the initial charge whilst the blasting charges deal the damage over top will work quite nicely, particularly because the blasting charges do fire damage and can often do a lot of friendly fire. Luckily for the IRONDRAKEs, they have 70% fire resistance, so pretty funny tactic all around. Leading the main line is going to be a cheap and cheerful Rune Lord, simply coming in with the Rune of, I'm assuming, Rune of Wrath and Ruin, as usual, lowering speed and charge speed considerably. And then we have a bucket ton of Thunderers dotted all throughout the back to apply some extra long-range pressure, and triple Organ Guns. I'm a big fan of the Organ Gun. I think it's a hilarious unit which can do some really nice burst damage. Pretty niche due to its short range, and sometimes it struggles to see enemies, but nice positioning on top of this hill should allow it to hopefully rain fire down upon the Lizard folk. For the Lizardman, over in the distance, we have double Pterodon Riders looking to get into that backline, harass and drop rock drops where possible, and hidden on the trees on the other side, we have double Skink Cohorts. The main battle line is going to be a gigantic Scaly Fist that is going to try to punch through the Dwarvish formation. To do that, we have a load of Saurus Warriors, looks like 4 units in fact, as well as double Croxagore to be the hammer. We also have Red-Crested Skinks, Cohort of Sotic, and more Red-Crested Skinks dotted throughout the back. Over on the left-hand side, hidden in some trees, we have 2 more units, the flanking Skink Cohorts, escorting a Skink Priest of Beast, coming in with Amber Spear, Flock of Doom, as well as the Manticore Summon. Leading this mighty army is going to be the legendary Gorok, very good in this matchup. You see him often picked. We actually did a replay not too long ago from the Lizardmen point of view of this matchup, where Gorok led an ancient salamander into hand-to-hand combat. And he certainly can do some pretty decent jobs. Looks like the Organ Gun has unleashed some fiery fury upon the Saurus Warriors. Can be doing some nice long-range burst damage to them, but mainly needs to focus down these Croxagore. That's just what they're doing. All 3 cannons aiming at you. That is not going to be a fun day whatsoever, as those small little cannonballs clatter into Saurus Warriors, sending them flying and felling a few of their larger Croxagore brethren as well. And into the fire and flames they must go if they want to get into that juicy back line. Left-hand flank overload is a nice attempt by the Lizardmen. They need to be as quick as possible to wrap around and start applying pressure, because otherwise it will be too late. Rune Lord goes for the ultimate Leroy Jenkins approach, standing firm ahead of all of these enemies to try and buy some time and bunch up the Lizardmen where possible. But it looks like the Lizardman player, rather wisely, is just ignoring the Rune Lord, going around him and starting to push it into the back line. Of the Croxagore's advance has been stunted as blasting charges and flamethrowers go into them, but they do still come smashing into the IRONDRAKEs, doing some really lovely damage to them, no doubt. But the Croxagore, despite the fact they have Shield of Eon popped on them, are going to be routing all of the Thunderer pressure. All of the Organ Guns are shooting downhill, abusing the scaly-skinned folk. Saurus Warriors are slowly getting into the front line, but lovely little crossfire from the IRONDRAKEs is making them stutter in their step. Thunderers unfortunately have been shut down by Skink Cohort, but luckily the miners of Blasting Charges are here to assist, and Blasting Charges obviously do fantastic work up against Skinks. More pressure is still raining down from the sky. The Rune Lord, unfortunately, did tussle with the wrong Lizardman character. Gorok beats the absolute snot out of that Rune Lord, laughs in his face, and lets him run away. No doubt to go home and try to fulfill a Slayer Oath later on. IRONDRAKEs continue to pour fire into the Cohort of Sotek. This normally squishy unit is getting absolutely butchered at the moment and roasted. In the back lines, the Pterodons have landed, as well as the Skink Cohorts from the trees coming round and doing some nice harass, although these other units have gone a little too far wide and need to continue to put pressure in, because this Dwarf build in general is incredibly glass cannon. All you need to do is shut down the range units and you will be victorious. But miners are being used to hold back clumps of Saurus Warriors, doing really nice work, and that burn effect from the IRONDRAKEs is continuously forcing the Lizardmen back further and further. There are some Skink Cohorts here in the distance, so you can pounce on the Rune Lord. Looks like that's just what they're going to be doing. Good micromanagement to map awareness by the Lizardman player, popping out, hunting down the Rune Lord with that cheap unit. Gorok, on the other hand, is completely surrounded by miners. He needs to push through these guys, get back here and shut down the Thunderers, as all of their attention is currently focused on the center of the battle, trying to sort out the cohort of Sotek, which would be a nightmare to deal with this style of build. Manticore Summon has gone up, diving down onto the Thunderers to do some nice pressure to them. Skinks and Saurus slowly dragging their way through the IRONDRAKEs with a helpful Flock of Doom as well, trying to punch through as quickly as possible. Orn Guns still fighting to the hill, all 3 units. If you have triple Orn Guns and they're not shut down, they will decimate the majority of most people's builds. And Gorok has just found himself in a sea of beards and picks. It looks like Skink cohorts are coming over to help support, but so are the IRONDRAKEs, who are going to unleash a deadly volley into the rallying Skinks, and they're certainly going to want to turn away and run away as quickly as possible. Being roasted, huge damage to their health. IRONDRAKEs are now going to be moved into a better position to shoot. Thunderers also lacing shots into Gorok, his mighty shield trying its best to hold back the enemy. Gorok, though, is having a whale of a time. It looks like he's kind of lost himself in the battle fury, just hacking and cleaving at enemies rather than doing the tactical approach of getting into the back line. Camera is rocking back and forth due to the sheer amount of firepower coming out of this Dowie force here. Skinks are retreating on all fronts. Skink Priests are beasts, needs to start summoning some more Manticores, and these Pterodons need to start getting really aggressive. We also have some Red-Crested Skinks who can push their way into the back line. It looked a little bit sketchy for a while for the Dwarfs, but they have managed to stabilise pretty much all across the battlefield, and poor Gorok, who's just been absolutely hammered at this point. Thunderers laughing with glee while shooting from long range. Second Manticore Summon has gone up, trying to push into the enemy back line, and there's a small resurgence as Red-Crested Skinks as well as Skink cohorts can rally to the fray. I'd even be bringing up the Skink Priest personally, just to try and attack the enemy where possible. In comes the Manticore, doing some nice damage to those IRONDRAKEs, but there is so horrific amounts of crossfire still coming in from all of these Thunderers, as the Orn Guns also wheel around to turn about face and start firing in, destroying the Manticore and the hopes and dreams of the Lizard people. A close victory, a really funny build. It wasn't the most competitive game throughout, but at the same time, I really wanted to showcase this really hilarious tactic coming in from way of using IRONDRAKEs in the front line so they can absorb the blasting charges of the miners before falling back and allowing the miners to take the rest of the fight. Well played to Way as well as GE32. I'm sure he wasn't expecting this style of build. Double Croc Score can do rather well, but if you come against triple Orn Gun, you know you're certainly in trouble. Hope you guys enjoyed this really fun battle. We will get to damage value, damage stats, and all that good stuff in just a second. But if you did enjoy, please do hit that thumbs up button. It really does help push this video out to more people and helps grow the channel. Likewise, if you can subscribe, feel free to if you haven't already. It does just give you a little bit of a heads up when we're going to be dropping content. We do drop stuff every single day, as well as a stream here and there. And down below in the description, you will find links to my Discord, where you can submit replays to me, get involved in the Total War community and all that good stuff, as well as links to Patreon, as well as all that good stuff down there. But anyway, on to the glorious damage value, and we're certainly going to start with the Dwarfs here, and that triple Orn Gun power. 1,114 damage value on one, 1.3 on the other, and 927. Two of them gaining chevrons, big kills across the board as well from all of them. 166 particularly impressive from that middle one. They, once again, Orn Guns, if left, to be able to shoot for the majority of the battle and not get shot down, they will get insane damage value. Likewise for the Thunderers, 578 damage value, 674, 653, 648, and 1,306. Most likely the unit which was shooting into Gorok when he was pinned in by those rather brave miners. Miners across the board don't get that much damage value. One unit did okay, probably one that helped butcher those Skink cohorts, and the IRONDRAKEs across the board took some initial punishment but managed to deal it back as well. 833 damage value here, 1,277, very good stuff, with 10k damage dealt and 126 kills, real standout unit there. The other one's 950, 414. Unfortunately, the Rune Lord got absolutely put in his place, as he should do, by the mighty Gorok. Fortunately, the Great White Lizard's rest of his army kind of faltered. It was much more of a swarm build, ready to also deal with some combat troops, but there's so much overwhelming firepower, he couldn't get in. Now, I must let you guys know, by the way, this was on Quick Battles. This was not a tournament game, because this Dwarvish build is not legal. And this is kind of why it's not legal, is because the sheer amount of long-range firepower you can bring. In tournaments, you can only bring 12 ranged units, and miners do count as ranged units if they have blasting charges. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 range units. So normally he'd have to cut 4 of these, add some more foot troops, and then obviously it wouldn't pack so much of a punch. Unfortunately for the Lizardmen, really struggled here with this build. Gorok, though, getting 1,000 damage value, very impressive work. But across the board, the Skinks and Saurus really did suffer very badly. Nothing to kind of really write home about. Damage value on these Croc scores 0 on one unit, 54 on the other. A little bit of a disaster for the children of the old one there, but nonetheless a really funny dwarvish tactic. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.